Welcome to RSA's demo of the WIOA Annual Report Submission Portal. During this training, we'll provide you with an overview of the annual report submission timeline, state requirements, and a demo of the submission portal. The core partners must use the WIOA Annual Report template to satisfy WIOA reporting requirements outlined in Section 116B2 of WIOA. The Departments of Labor and Education work together to develop a single report to satisfy the reporting requirements for each core program. This information collection was published in the Federal Register for public comment by the Department of Labor, so it has an ETA clearance number and is referred to as ETA 9169. The form can be found on ETA's performance webpage through the link on this slide. Each core program under WIOA must submit the ETA 9169 prior to October 1st annually to satisfy WIOA reporting requirements. This means that the VR program must submit their completed ETA 9169 form to RSA for the state. If the state has a blind and general agency, the two agencies must work together to complete one report for the state VR program. We have received a lot of questions and I've heard a lot of concern from VR agencies about the fact that they must provide their completed ETA 9169 to their state labor agency for submission to the U.S. Department of Labor. And this is not true. However, if the labor-funded agency is submitting the effectiveness in serving employers portion of the report, the VR agency or agencies will need to provide that information required for the effectiveness in serving employers indicator to the labor-funded agency. And this is because the effectiveness in serving employers measure is reported as the statewide workforce development measure, not a program-specific measure. Your state may also have additional requirements for the core programs to provide their annual report information to the governor or workforce development board. RSA has created a form in the MIS portal to collect the WIOA annual report. The form will follow the structure of the WIOA annual report template, the ETA 9169. RSA will populate the WIOA annual report with data submitted through the RSA 911. States will not have to calculate fields which contain data collected through the RSA 911. The fields that the state must report are funds expended on career services, funds expended on training services, cost per participant served in career services, cost per participant served in training services, and percent enrolled in more than one core program. If you are in a state with a blind and general agency, you will need to coordinate with each other to concatenate your information and to submit one report. As mentioned earlier, each state also has the responsibility to report on effectiveness in serving employers for PY 2017. States were to meet with their partners to determine which program would report this information to the departments through the annual report. If the VR agency was selected, then the effectiveness in serving employers information will be entered into the RSA MIS annual report template. If the DOL-funded programs or adult ed is coordinating this effort, then the VR agency will need to meet the requirements of the agreement negotiated with that entity reporting the information. And all annual reports for PY 2017 must be submitted by October 1st of 2018. The annual report, as with all other VR data collections, is required to be submitted by the VR director or his or her designee. So since this is a new form, the individual who will be responsible for submitting the report must request access to the form via the RSA MIS website. To do this, you'll log on to the MIS and click the link to add forms. Okay, you'll select Access to WIOA Title IV Annual Performance Report form. And then you'll select the WIOA Annual Performance Report Submitter for the state. In this example, access to submit Virginia's annual report is being requested. And notice that Virginia is a state that has both a general and blind agency. So the only option to select is the WIOA Annual Performance Report for Virginia, not the specific agency. Okay, you'll select your appropriate level of access. If you're entering data and submitting the WIOA annual report, you'll select the Edit and Submit radio button. Once you have completed the form, select Submit Request to access to WIOA Title IV Annual Performance Report. And as usual, it will take a few days for access to the form to be granted because RSA must receive documentation from your VR director that the individual submitting the request is his or her authorized representative to submit the report. Okay, so this is the home page for ETA 9169 form. There are 6 areas where data has been or must be populated, and they are program and summary information, participant characteristics, employment barriers, measurable skill gains, effectiveness in serving employers, and submission. Agencies must complete information in the program and summary section as well as the submission section. If the VR agency has been designated as the state's representative to submit the effectiveness in serving employers information, that will also need to be updated. If a DOL-funded agency or the AFLA program are submitting this information, then this section will be left blank. Participant characteristics, employment barriers, and measurable skill gains are all pre-populated with information submitted by the agency to RSA via the RSA 911. So after clicking on the Program and Summary tab, you'll see information on career services, training services, and other summary information. You'll notice that the % admin expended and the % of training-related employment are both labeled NA. That's because these two are not applicable for VR. They apply only to the Title I program. So you'll click on the Edit tab to complete the remaining required information. You'll now see that 5 text boxes appear around the updatable fields. Okay, and after you've updated these fields, click Save to save your data. And you'll now see that the data has updated and been saved to the report. Okay, if your agency has been selected to report the effectiveness in serving employers information, you'll complete the data fields that appear under the Effectiveness in Serving Employers menu. If your agency is not submitting this information, leave this page blank. Okay, the final section that VR will need to complete is the submission information. The individual certifying the report will need to complete the name, telephone number, and email address fields. There's also an optional comment field for any information that the agency would like to convey. You'll notice that Section D is to be completed by the combined and general agencies. Box E is to be completed by the blind agency. So if your state does not have a separate blind agency, box E will be left blank. The remaining tabs on this form are not updatable. They were calculated using information submitted by the state via the RSA 911. On this tab, you'll see information on the number of participants who were served and the number who exited during the program year. And the information on this slide and the next few slides contain test data. Okay. This section provides the statewide targets for each indicator. VR agencies have not negotiated performance targets yet, so these fields will be blank until PY 2020. At that time, these fields will be populated with the negotiated performance targets. Okay, the statewide performance indicators will be listed in this section as well. For the PY 2017 report, measurable skill gains are the only measure that will be populated. All other measures will be left blank. Okay, the participant information and performance indicators will also be broken down by demographic characteristics, gender, age, race, ethnicity, and barriers to employment. For the PY 2017 report, again, measurable skill gains are the only measure that will be populated. On this chart, you'll see the participant information and performance indicators for participants who are aged 16 to 18. On this chart, you'll see the participant information and performance indicators for participants who have identified as Hispanic or Latino. And on this chart, you'll see the participant information and performance indicators for participants who have reported being displaced homemakers. The total number of measurable skill gains will be included on this tab. You'll remember that each individual can only earn one measurable skill gain for inclusion in the measurable skill gain indicator. However, this tab will capture the total number of skill gains included in each program year, so it's important to record them all in your RSA 911 despite the fact that only one will be counted in the measurable skill gains indicator. Okay. Once the state has completed the annual report information, you'll click on Mark as Complete and Submit to submit the report to RSA. So in summary, all reports are due annually by October 1st. The PY 2017 report is due to RSA by October 1st of 2018. Make sure to request access to the system early so that reports are submitted on time. And remember, if you're in a state that has both a blind and general agency, you'll need to work together to submit the WIOA annual report. Thank you for viewing this webinar on the WIOA annual report submission process. Please contact RSA Data at ed.gov with any questions.